the Board of Aldermen to order on February 19th at 6:30 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber. The prayer will be offered by City Clerk Patricia Pietzu, and Alderwoman Marianne Malisi-Goya will lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Almighty God, we have the high honor and serious duty to manage the affairs of our beloved city. Fill us, O God, with a spirit of unity and understanding, which enables us to face our multiple problems with a serene mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will always be for the betterment and greater happiness of all our fellow citizens. So help us, God. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Present.
Alderman Gidge. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Present.
Alderman Dowd. Alderman Clee.
Here.
Alderman Laws.
Here.
Alderman Lopez. Alderman Karen.
Here.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Here.
Alderman Jettie.
Here.
Alderwoman Malisi-Gola.
Present.
Alderman Tenza.
Present.
Alderman Schmidt.
Here.
Alderman Wilshire.
Here.
We have 11 members present.
Thank you. Also in attendance this evening is His Honorable Mayor James Donchis and Corporation Counsel Stephen Bolton. I am here, I have called the meeting tonight to honor a friend and a colleague, Brian S. McCarthy. I'd just like to say that what a great audience we have here this evening, a lot of business people, a lot of former aldermen and colleagues, friends of Brian's. Thank you, and most importantly, his wonderful family. Brian served his community with dedication and passion. He loved Nashua. He did. He loved Nashua almost as much as he loved his family. And we all knew that just knowing Brian, who he was, how he handled himself. He was confident. He was brilliant. I can't say enough about Brian, but I'm not going to do all the talking tonight because I know there's a lot more to be said around the horseshoe and in the back of the room. Thank you all so much for being here to honor Brian. I'm going to ask the mayor if he'd like to say a few words.
Yes, of course, Madam President. Well, I certainly want to welcome everybody to City Hall tonight, all friends, and I'm sure close friends and supporters and fellow co-workers with Brian McCarthy. When I was in city government before, I left office before Brian was elected to the Board of Aldermen. So I didn't know him personally until I served for a little while on the Board of Aldermen and then for several years as mayor. And I'm so glad that we have, Brian's family, Kim and Gloria and John here today, just to see again how much he was valued here in the community. And I have to say that, on a personal level, especially while I was mayor, Brian and I would meet every Friday, usually before every 2 Fridays before an aldermanic meeting. And of course, I found working with him a great pleasure. He always had very smart, constructive thoughts about what was going on in the city and a lot of insight into many of the issues that we faced. And I think I benefited from being able to talk with him in those bi-weekly meetings about the issues that we were trying to address really together. And he would sometimes refer to things that happened with the family, at different times. And of course, he always spoke of you with great warmth and pride in his children. I can surely guarantee you that. Now, we all know that Brian accomplished a great deal for the city, and many people will speak to that. The two things that, really, the things that struck me the most, although he was involved in many things, were, first of all, his dedication to education and to schools here in Nashua. And as we all know, He was instrumental in making sure that the 2 high schools were completed, and uh, uh, 2 schools of which the city is still very proud. And his dedication to the downtown was really unparalleled. He was a supporter of the Performing Arts Center, of everything that's going on downtown, the the trolley we had, and many, many other things. His insights again regarding downtown, his knowledge regarding other downtowns and the other communities he'd visited, and applying those lessons to us in Nashua were always very, very enlightening and always very interesting. And again, just showed the deep insight that he had. So, I just want to say that I miss him. I know others miss him, very deeply as well. And I do have something. I think now is maybe the appropriate time. I wanted to give Gloria a key to the city. So if you could come up, I'd love to present that to you.
I'd like to recognize Donnelly Lozo, if she would mind coming forward. There's a mic right there.
Thank you. Boy, what a strange way to have to come back. I wish we were here instead celebrating with Brian and not about Brian. But when I heard that there was a recognition for him tonight, I just wanted to be part of it. I first met Brian when he was running for alderman in my ward. He was my ward alderman. And then we'd bump into each other in the hallways because our kids went to school together, so parents' night, almost always saw him. And I remember Brian for much of the same things that the mayor was saying, and all of you. Madam President, you served with him for a long time around this horseshoe, a few people. Brian used to be the soothing elixir between former President Bolton and myself in our monthly meetings, which wasn't an easy job for anybody. But that was the thing about Brian. He had this way about him where he could know what was coming and find a way to get through it to get done what needed to be done. And I probably called Gloria more times than she wants to tell anybody, looking for Brian to say, okay, here's what I'm thinking. What do you think? And I appreciated that he was kind enough to be candid without being rude or hurtful in what he would say or advise. Probably my favorite Brian McCarthy story is around Pennachuck Water. As you know, Brian was dedicated to that for a very long time. And many approaches had been taken to try to figure out how to make that happen. And Brian was really great about talking to us about how to move the ball forward, but was happy to step back when it needed to be done a different way, encouraging and that sort of thing. But I won't ever forget that we signed the Pennachuck agreement in the mayor's office right after the Veterans Day Parade. And seeing Brian and his expression, I have this great photograph of the group of us that were there signing it, passing around the same pen, as corny as it sounds, and then a great shot. And Brian said to me, this day for always, will be one of the best days. And that was the other part about Brian is he shared success with everybody. He didn't need to be the guy that made it happen. He was happy behind the scenes. If he had to be in front of the scenes, he would do that too. As his family knows, in talking about him and what he could do, he got an awful lot done in a short period of time. I mean, 25 years
feels like a long time, but when you look back about what happened in that period of time for the city, it's really quite extraordinary. You know, I like to say, all of us, particularly elected officials, you meet all kinds of people in your life. And some people you learn what not to be like from. Some you learn to strive to be like. And others are just kind of that glue that holds things together. And Brian was that kind of guy. He was smart, thoughtful, kind. I used to say to him, "You're a good government guy. And when I retire and start a new party called the Good Government Party, you're one of my first calls." And he would just, and then I'd say to him, "But sometimes politically, you're a little too clever for your own good." And he got great fun out of that, didn't he? But anyway, so thank you for extending to me an opportunity to share some of my thoughts about President McCarthy. To me, he'll always be President McCarthy. From my time with him. And thank you. And like the rest of you, you miss him, but people like that, they're just never far from your thoughts. And that's what keeps them with us. So thanks again.
Thank you. Alderman O'Brien, did you want to say a few words about your friend, Brian?
Thank you, Madam President. And it's with much prejudice, because I consider myself honored to know the gentleman had been considered part of his court host of friends and shenanigans, and I see many other friends out here in the audience, and remember many great times with Brian. But I looked at him in his political career. You know, we had some great captains of our ships, and former Mayor Lozo and our current Mayor Donchis and others in the past. But Brian probably filled the role basically as the navigator of that ship, steering it in proper directions, looking at the many different things that had the common good within this community. That's what I liked about him. Taking the city and bringing up ideas of looking at the Penachuk purchase, looking at the different schools that were built under his particular time, and other things that basically I consider, you know, the ancient Egyptians would build pyramids for their memory to live on forever. But Brian, in a way, did. And we look at some of the edifices that he has done and some of the influences that has led this city to make it exactly where we are. We have been voted #1 in this country city to live, and I think Brian had a big impact as well as others with that. And so therefore I say to his family, I miss him too, and I know you guys do. You know, we'll miss him together, but I'll tell you, I look around this city and the greatness of the city, and I'll see Brian every day. And I mean that. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderwoman Malisi Golia.
Yes, thank you. I first met Brian 15 years ago when I was on the Board of Ed, and our conversations revolved around two things: buildings, which has continued in the 15 years we worked together, and science education. And even when the topic of the evening wasn't science education, at some point during the evening, our conversation would turn to science education. And sometimes in geeky ways because of things we had both heard on NPR as we were driving home from work that night. And it was like, oh, did you hear that? And we would compare our views of whatever it was we had listened to. In the last 10 years, as a member of the Board of Aldermen, we've worked on obviously many projects, and I came to count on him for historical insight as well as his technical knowledge and knowledge of the people involved and knowledge of the community. We shared a very deep interest in the arts and the development of the city and science education, and also cooking. And many nights our conversation would end up revolving around the latest spice we had tried and how we prepared it and what we were making. So Brian, as others have mentioned, had a way of making everyone feel included. And he lent his insight and his interest into doing what was best for the city. As I listened to the prayer tonight, I very quickly wrote down some words: justice, charity, and betterment for all. And I think that really captures how he approached his work in the city of Nashua. It was not about self-promotion, but about doing what was right and promoting the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Bolton.
Thank you, Lori. For most of my adult life, I've been in elected or appointed office in the city of Nashua. I've met a lot of public servants in that time. All of the aldermen for the past 35 years or so, and the mayors, governors, and senators. Brian McCarthy was the best public servant I've ever met, would ever hope to meet. Circumstances, events, the situations we find ourselves in, they can't be prime the way a number can be prime. Circumstances and situations are the product of many things, many events that have gone before, the contributions of many people. So while we can say that Brian worked on a lot of good things for our city, we can't really know if we would still have two of the best high schools in the state that his leadership ensured were constructed on time and millions of dollars under budget. We can't be certain that without his steering the course, we would have acquired the Pennachuck water system, which will ensure lower water rates now and for future generations. We cannot know for sure that we would have had water protection legislation, wetlands protection legislation, the economic development initiatives that are working to keep our city strong and vibrant. But it is certain that without Brian's contribution for the last 25 years, that Nashua would be a different place. And I know it would not be a better place. I'm proud to have called Brian my friend. The 12 years that I worked in this chamber with him were the most satisfying for me in my public life. I will miss him.
Thank you. Police Commissioner James Tolner. Did you want to say a few words?
Wasn't expecting to say anything, but I'll be brief. I would say that Brian was probably, as people have said, the smartest politician I've ever seen. I don't even think him as a politician. I think him as a server of the city. You know, as one of the founding fathers, you look at what they did in the beginning. And as Donna Lee had mentioned, he wasn't one that grabbed an issue and wanted attention for it. What he basically wanted to do was grab the issue and do the best thing for the city and the citizens. And, you know, there are a number of things that we did, whether it be the high school or Pennachuck. And people that worked on that, when it came time to get the picture taken, they'd probably be in front. Brian was the type of guy that he said, hey, you know, everybody else get in front, and you know, I'll stay on the side. I served with him for 14 years, and I would say some of those boards were pretty tumultuous at times, to say the least. Sometimes you wanted to crawl under your chair and disappear, but he was always the steady hand. He always did what was right for the city. He did what was right, regardless of where you were in the city. You know, whether you were in a position of wealth or you were in a position of looking for support. The other thing, you know, if you had a chance to attend his services, you know, he loved his family as much as he loved the city. And damn did he love the city. The stories of the kids that brought, you know, I never knew he did all those different things, you know, and, but I appreciate the opportunity to speak. The city is at a loss, but I think, as Steve said, everywhere you go in the city, there are things there that, it's kind of like that movie with Jimmy Stewart around Christmas time, you know? Okay, I forget the name of it, but Wonderful Life, okay? Brian McCarthy was Jimmy Stewart in that movie. If he had disappeared and he wasn't here, what would the city look like? And we're better for him being in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. I have one final thing to read. It's from Alderman Dowd, who went to be with his daughter, who was having a baby this week. So he was unable to be here, but I told him I would read his words into the record. I'm sorry that I can't be with all of you tonight to celebrate the life of my good friend and colleague, Brian McCarthy. I'm out of town celebrating my third grandchild and my daughter Emily's first child. Brian and I go back several years, long before I served with him on the Board of Aldermen. My youngest daughter and Brian's twins, John and Kim, were in Nashua High Band together, and as parents, we served on the Nashua High School Band Boosters Group to support our children. I became good friends over the years with Brian, his wife Gloria, and his children, and attended many an event together. We also shared a very close group of friends who will all miss Brian very much. Brian was one of the smartest people I have ever known, and know how passionate he was about his many interests, including electronics, space, rockets, air shows, ham radio, astronomy, and politics, and of course, computers. I don't know how he found the time for all those pastimes and activities. Anyone else would have tired in pursuit of all those activities year after year. Activities he lovingly shared with his wife and children and his many friends. Brian was a very hard worker and solved many a complex problem, as all his friends can attest. Whether it was taking pictures of an eclipse with his automated camera setup or firing a very large rocket into the waiting sky. Brian also had a compassion for the city of Nashua and spent more hours than you can imagine working to make Nashua a better place to live. Much of what I know in several subject areas are because of working so closely with Brian. I just hope I can be some small part in the success of his latest projects, such as the middle school project, the Performing Arts Center, and the return of commuter rail. We as a board should work to make Brian proud in these areas. Another passion of Brian's was the New England Patriots, and we shared my season tickets for several years, watching many victories and being there to unfurl several Super Bowl banners. Many a game was enjoyed with his family members and friends at Gillette Stadium. Brian's last night with us included a fantastic Patriots victory over Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, which brought a great smile to Brian's face. Shortly after that game, we lost our board president, our mentor, and our very good friend. This tribute we share tonight is the very least we could do to honor such a great man. We'll all miss you, Brian. Recognition period.
First reading of Resolution 19-112, recognizing Brian S. McCarthy in his dedication and service to the city of Nashua.
There being no objection, I'll suspend the rules to allow for a second reading of Resolution 19-112.
Second reading of Resolution 19-112, recognizing Brian S. McCarthy and his dedication and service to the city of Nashua.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. It is with honor that I would like to recommend R19-112 for final passage, and with your indulgence, may I read the resolution?
Well, we would like to invite the McCarthy family to the Horseshoe for the reading, and if they wouldn't mind coming forward. And you can stand there. You want to grab the mic, John?
Sure. Come on in. We don't have a great sound department like so if you don't mind.
You have to hold the mic next to your mouth. You have to hold the mic next to your mouth.
Figured I got that Irish booming voice, but here we go. A resolution, R19-112, recognizing Brian S. McCarthy and his dedication and service for the city of Nashua. In the year 2019, resolved by the Board of Aldermen and the city of Nashua that the mayor and the Board of Aldermen recognize Brian S. McCarthy for his years of service and their valuable contributions to the city of Nashua. Brian began his political career as a member of the Zoning Board of Adjustment, from 1993 to 1994. He served as a member of the Board of Aldermen for 25 years, from 1994 to 2018. As Ward 5 Alderman and Alderman at Large, his automatic colleagues elected him to serve as automatic president 5 times and automatic vice president 2 times. Brian served as automatic president from 2004 to 2005, 2010 to 2013, and 2016 to 2018, and as vice president from 2008 to 2009, and 2014 to 2015. Brian was a member of many standing committees, including the Budget Review Committee for 10 years, Finance Committee, 2 years, Committee on Infrastructure, 4 years, Joint Special School Board Committee, 25 years, Personnel and Administrative Affairs Committee, 4 years, Pennachuck Water Special Committee, 12 years, Planning and Economic Development Committee, 18 years. Brian was also significant and contributor to the Business Industrial Development Authority and the Downtown Improvement Committee. Brian's success are too numerous to list, but one especially stands out. Brian's leadership as chair of the High School Building Committee resulted in the construction of the 2 finest high schools in the state of New Hampshire, being completed on time and millions of dollars under budget. Brian's love for the city of Nashua was well known, and the city will deeply miss his knowledge, commitment, and presence.
On behalf of the Board of Aldermen, I present this to you, Gloria, and your children. I guess I need the mic, sorry. And hope that you will enjoy that. And this is the memory book that people wrote many nice things about Brian, so you can reflect on that. And we have one other thing. So could I ask Alderwoman Malisi Golia and Alderwoman Kelly, just give me one moment. We're almost done. So it's with great honor that we present this on behalf of Brian S. McCarthy. He's going to be remembered here for a long time, a really long time. Okay. Well, thank you all very much for being here tonight. And we love Brian. We know how much you love Brian, and thank you so much.
Hi, I just wanted to thank you for all the kind words and the support. I didn't prepare anything, so bear with me here. The start of all this began with a campaign, and you know, I just can't urge all of you as city leaders and supporters to urge the community to come out and vote this coming election. None of you would be here without an election, so, and I think we know how important it is, so I can't stress enough to get out, tell people to vote, get people voting, and you know, I know that's the right thing to do, so thank you guys so much.
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that's here tonight. I have a thought. It's taking me a second, but so 25 years was a long time and unheard of for almost any elected official. You're all here tonight because my dad supported your businesses and your ideas and your visions and your passion and your love for the city of Nashua. And we're here and fortunate enough to be here tonight because you all returned that to my dad and supported the same for him and supported him throughout the years. And so we just ask that everyone, keep moving forward with your passions and your visions, and keep, help Nashua thrive and remain the vibrant place that it's become. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Thank you very much. Once again, I want to thank everyone who is here. I know that we all appreciate everything Brian did for this city. Okay, so there is a motion that Alderman O'Brien made to recommend final passage of R-19-112. Discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Do I have a motion? Alderman O'Brien.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
The motion before us is to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you very much.